Hey everyone, Brandon here with Galway Precision. Today we're going to go over the installation of our reduced power spring kit for the SAR9 SAR USA series of pistols. What this kit will do, if you've been following us on social media, the biggest thing is that this will bring your pull weight down to around 3.5 pounds without having to change the connector. I've done no polishing, I've done nothing else. And so once we install it, we'll do some trigger pull tests and show you. First things first, let's go over tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need your brass polymer hammer, your 3/32 punch, all right? And your bench block, all right? So let's go ahead and get started. And lock and clear, make sure we are visually and physically empty. We'll start by stripping the slide off. Alright, go ahead and take your guide rod and barrel out, set them off to the side. Now there are two parts that I have managed to lose because, you know, I'm real good at that. It is 65 and 66 in your manual and the exploded diagram. It's actually the spring that holds the, puts extra pressure on the back plate. I was getting ready for the video, got all excited, putting the new stuff in for testing last week, and it shot off, never to be found again. So when you're doing this, be very cognizant of keeping your thumb up in this corner, okay? Because that's where the spring and the detent are. So we'll take our 3/32, push down on our sleeve or striker sleeve there so that we can get that out of the way. Now like I said, you'll see right there is where the hole is that a spring and plunger go in, but they took off again, never to be seen again. So I got to get those ordered, but just keep in mind, keep your thumb over that. All right, and once you have that off, you can remove the plunger and the spring. We're going to take our striker, and just like any other striker fired, we can turn it around inside the striker channel, set it off caddy corner like so, and use the slide as a tool. So we're going to take our spring cups out. We'll remove our stock striker spring and put it in our bag of goodies because we always save our stock parts. And take our new striker spring, go ahead and put it on, and take our spring cups, compress the spring, put our spring cups back on, and that part of installation is done. All right, we've got our striker on there, our striker spring, and our strikers back together. So let's go ahead and take our bench block and take our 3/32 and drive out from the inside out the extractor pin. All right. Now it's under a lot of spring tension too, and so is the blocker. So what you want to do is as you're squeezing this to pull your pin punch back out, you can either keep your thumb over this or you can turn it down towards your bench, so when you pull your extractor out, that if this decides to take off, which yours will stock, this already has the kit installed. Now again, you can see, haven't polished the blocker, haven't done anything to it. So take your stock spring, we're going to set it in our bag of goodies. We're going to take our new blocker spring, put it in, and go ahead and reinstall the blocker. All right, take your extractor spring, put it in. Take your extractor, making sure that you put the red side up for your loaded chamber indicator. If you try and put it in backwards, it won't go anyway, but you'd be amazed what I've seen people do. Go ahead and put your, tap that home. We're going to tap that home with our 3/32. Now, yeah, yours will not be as messed up as ours. Your roll pin will be a lot better. This thing's been apart so many times that we've kind of destroyed our roll pin. Now we're going to take it, we're going to reinstall the striker. At this point, you'll reinstall the back plate, spring, and plunger as well. We'll start by compressing the striker, and then you'll take your 3/32 and compress the plunger and the spring, slide your back plate home, and the slide is done. So we can go ahead and take and put our barrel and guide rod back in and set it off to the side. Now we're going to start on the frame. And I lied to you at the beginning. We need one more tool, and that'll be our 1/16 punch. I forgot because we're in the process of designing the safety delete that you do need that small punch for that. So that'll be in the list at the beginning. All right, so we're going to go from the bottom to the top. Take our 1/16. And that'll tap out, and you don't have to take it all the way out. And your 1/16 will come out a lot easier because it's not all beat up. All right, mine's all bent and beat to here and there. All right, so once you have that out enough to where you can take the side of the safety off, you'll pull your safety off, and you'll turn it like you're going to turn the safety on. You'll wiggle as you push it out, okay? Once you get to about here, you'll feel it turn, and just keep wiggling until you get it out. And right out it'll come, okay? Now we're gonna take our 3/32 punch and drive out our locking block pin. And now this is where it gets a little tricky. We'll take and pry one side off like that, okay? You only need your thumbnail. If you don't want to use your nails, you can just take a small flathead, that'll work too. But the biggest reason we're doing this is because you need to have this off and out of the way when you go to push it out. So once you get one side off, it'll allow you to move the pin enough that you can pop both sides off. So take that, set it off to the side. We're going to push in on the locking tab that holds our slide in place, and that will relieve the pressure on the through pin. Pull the pin out, take our plunger and spring out. Now we're going to pull out our chassis. Okay, set your frame off to the side, take our 3/32. Doesn't matter which side you drive from, this side's going to be easier because the slide lock's not in the way. And you just push real hard. Now, being a brand new pistol, if yours is brand new, you may have to give it a tap, but that's about it. All right, we'll remove our locking block, being sure to leave our slide lock spring in place right there. Go ahead and take your slide lock, and if you want, you can go ahead and put it in and just set that assembly off to the side. Now we're going to pull the trigger and fire control unit out. All right, so you'll take, just like any other Glock style, and pull that out. We're going to take and pull the trigger bar and connector off. Correction, trigger bar will leave the connector in. All right, now when you go to put this back together, it's going to look like an S, okay? This is gonna hook this way, this hooks under. Go ahead and remove your stock one. This is really the hardest part because this thing doesn't like coming in and out very well. All right, once you have that off and out of the way, you'll take your new trigger return spring, all right? Remember, we're going for an S here. It doesn't matter which side, both sides are exactly the same. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get that down in place. Take our trigger bar, get it in, pull it tight. All right, now we're ready to put everything back together. So go ahead and slide the fire control unit in from the bottom. And then push it back into place. Next, we're going to take our locking block and slide lock assembly. That's how you, if you've managed to pop all this apart, you know, when it first comes apart, it wants to fall apart. Make sure the slide lock spring is positioned like this. We're going to set it down where it goes, bring the trigger up. We're going to take our trigger pivot, get it all back in place. Do a little maneuvering around so that you can find the hole. And once you've got the through hole and you're in, go ahead and make sure you're lined up on the other side. And we're going to take our 3/32 and our hammer I'm just going to tap it back in until we're equidistant on both sides, and our internal chassis is ready to go back in the frame. So we're going to start by putting the trigger assembly area in first, slide in the rear where the fire control unit is. You can go ahead and cock the trigger at this point, makes things a little easier. We'll start by putting our safety back in. That's going to go right straight across just like that. Go ahead and make sure it's off of safe. We can take our right safety and gently tap that back in. And we're going to set it on the block like so. Alright, so that it holds it for us. We'll take our 3/32 and we'll just drive it home flat. You don't need to seat it with the 1/16 because it won't come out the bottom as it is anyway. You just want it even with the top, okay? Now, we'll take our locking block pin, flip to the flat side of our bench block, drive it home with your polymer hammer, and then you'll go ahead and just push. Make sure it's seated. We don't want to drive it out. And you'll know when it seats because you'll hear it click. It's got there's a screw that sticks out. We've gone over and drove it a little too far. There it goes. There's a screw that goes in the locking block itself that sits out, and there's a detent in the center of that pin. So now we'll take our plunger and spring for the locking block. Go ahead and put those back in, being sure that sometimes this thing can be a real pain in the butt. It's hard to see, but if you don't set it just flat, it can kink itself. There's not a pocket in the frame for it or in the block. It's just that one hole. But you'll know if the spring's kink because it won't go as far and it'll be really hard to compress. So we want to make sure that our flat on the back of the locking plunger that locks the barrel in place is the flattest to the back and the 45-degree angles to the front. Compress and put our through pin on. All right, and we're going to flip it around, dummy. Take our takedown, put it back in place. Every now and then you may need to just give it a little tap with the polymer. But it's in, everything's good. We're ready to put our slide back on. Now we'll function test, and then we'll get the trigger pull gauge out and show you what we made happen. Alright, so first go ahead and rack the slide, place the weapon on safe, pull on the trigger including the safety blade, nothing should happen. Safety off. Do not pull the safety blade, pull your trigger, nothing happens. Go ahead and pull the safety blade, striker falls, hold to the rear, rack the slide, release, and there you go. So we're set. So we're going to pause for just a second and get set up over here on the vise, and we'll do some trigger pull gauge testing. All right, so we're chucked up in the vise. Got our Lyman digital pull gauge. I'm going to do a 10 pull average. I'm going to count because I'll end up losing count if I don't, so that's more for my benefit than yours. But if you want, I can do, counting vampire from Sesame Street, liven it up. One, All right, anyway, so let's go ahead and get our pull averages down here. All right, first pull, 2 pounds, 6.9 ounces. Second pull, 3 pounds, 9.1 ounce. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7th, 8, 9, and 10. And our average out of 10 pulls, 3 pounds, 7.5 ounces. Yesterday I was testing out about 3.5 pounds, so you should see a pretty good reduction in the stock pull weight. Now we're going to take it into the blast box and we'll light some rounds off, show you that now it's not just going to go brrr. They're not that light. Light enough to give you the trigger pull you want without having to change a bunch of other parts or even polish anything. And so let's go blast some rounds. All right, so we're at the blast box. Got our SAR9. We just installed the reduced power spring kit in. Got our 17 round mag with R plus 3 on it, so 20 rounds, 115 grain Tula, because I felt froggy. So let's see what she does with some garbage ammo. Bet she runs all 20. Shooting black powder loads, Russian stuff. All right, so there you go, guys. I mean, we just dumped 20 rounds of Tula through it. I'm gonna run more ammo through it, but if it's setting off Tula that you can buy in bulk, I'd say it's safe to say. Now, don't go, oh, my reloads will work. Reloads are completely different from factory ammo. Okay, they're not going to sell you primers no matter what information is out there. You're not going to get primers that shoot anywhere near as soft as most factory ammo just because they don't want you to blow yourself up at home. They don't want that liability. So, but as far as Tula, if it'll shoot Tula, I'd say it'll shoot just about anything. But we're going to do some more testing, just to make sure. But for those of you wanting a decent home defense weapon, carry pistol, or something to compete with, you just want to go out and have fun. You don't necessarily want to drop $2-3 grand on a comp gun. $279. I think all of our parts that we make for it right now, well under $100, for well under $400, including mag holders and a holster. You've got a really nice entry-level competition gun. We're still working on the optic mount plate. With the new machine up, that should be something we can crank out here pretty soon. The next thing we're going to do to this, though, is we're going to do some slide lightning, because as you can see, between the guide rod and the heavy slide, this thing just dribbles the brass out. So, I mean, we've got some room to play, and it's going to be real exciting to see what we can pull with this. And once we get it all dialed in the way we want it, set up for competition and whatnot, we'll be using it in local leagues. We'll get some video of that to show you guys that, yeah, it definitely will work just fine. And so that's going to wrap this one up, guys. If you got any questions, feel free to email me at tech. That's Tango Echo Charlie Hotel at GallowayPrecision.com. Be sure to follow us on social media here on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Gunstreamer, and Vimeo. And as always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.